get started. It's good to see everybody. Thanks for coming back. Today we're going to talk about professionalism, business etiquette, and workplace conduct. And the last two sessions we focused on kind of the legal aspects. What's legal, what's permittable in a work environment. And today we're going to shift and talk about how those things fit into general professionalism and good workplace conduct to make for a great work environment, right? And so, again, throughout our series, we emphasize public trust, respect for people, that includes one another, the general public. And today we want to talk about professional communication. So, where are we in the series? We covered ethics, harassment, public trust, preventing discrimination, and ensuring fair treatment. From the last session, what's the three big types of discrimination and unfair treatment in the workplace? What's one?
Religion? I don't know.
Okay, yeah, no, we're getting there. Treating somebody differently because of their religion, right? So there's one. It's a different treatment. Then have a quid pro quo. That's a do something for me and I'll do something for you. That really gets us back to number one, harassment, but good. And again, can be a form of discrimination.
Favoritism? I don't know.
What's that?
Favoritism?
Yeah, okay, it's a different treatment or a different outcome. So there you've got your two, where you have something maybe neutral, but you get a different outcome, or you're treating somebody different based on a characteristic. It could be religion, it could be age, it could be gender. And then what's the third? A third one. That employers can, what do they fail to do for people? Accommodate. There you go, accommodate. So accommodate somebody's reasonable request to accommodate them based on their religion, or more common on their disability status. Right. And we discussed we're all one car wreck, one accident away from maybe needing an accommodation, right? And we talked about the need to support one another, right? And what that looks like, and what is reasonable, and what isn't. So good. Today we're gonna bring those two kind of a bit more to life and just general. What does that professional, positive work environment look like? How do we interact? And we're not going to talk about folding napkins and setting place tables. It's about how we're going to interact with one another, talk with one another, and talk with the public. Workplace conduct. And then we'll be halfway through the series. Fourth, we'll talk about communication, culture, and generational differences. And then customer service and dealing with difficult people. Touch on a little bit of that today. And then the last topic, June 24th, emotional intelligence. And you get a little bit of break between June 3rd and June 17th there. I think there's a day missing. So that's kind of where we are. Any questions at this point? Okay, so did the welcome, recap. We're going to have a lot of activities today. You can see those in green. Going to take a quiz at the end. And I took some of the scenarios and the quiz items from last time that we actually did get to. And I weaved them into this workshop because they're all still interrelated, right? So you can have like what might be unprofessional conduct that might also be discrimination, right? So just keep that in mind. So we're gonna have a busy day, lots of opportunities for you guys to talk about this stuff and tell me what you guys think. And kind of like some games and things to kind of help bring the lessons home. So we're gonna hop right in. And there was our recap that I already kind of covered. So again, ethics, public trust, discrimination and fair treatment. And then we're gonna move into what this looks like in a professional workforce. So, we are gonna break into groups of 3 to 4. And what I'd like you to do is discuss what professionalism looks like at the district. In the field, on the phone, with residents. Document at least 3 things, behaviors, habits, that make the workplace professional from your perspective. And at least one thing on what makes the workplace feel good, what makes you want to show up. So small groups, and you guys are going to chat for 5-10 minutes, and then we're gonna come back together, looking for each group to share 2 to 3 behaviors, and we'll talk about maybe some of the things that get in the way. So break off into groups, and we work through this part for the next 5 to 10 minutes. We'll say 10 minutes. To share. So, who wants to go first?
We'll go first.
Okay.
Let's see. So, let's see. Things that make the workplace more professional, being knowledgeable about like your job or your task, what you're working on.
Okay.
Being respectful of each other, being helpful to each other, and being courteous. Those are all good ways to
Okay.
be professional.
Any of those make the workplace feel like a good place?
Yes, but also we had kind of separate ones for that. Helping the community.
Okay.
Our group is pretty laid back. We all have a purpose, and we all joke around with each other. All things that make this a good job.
He missed last week.
That's all right. No, good stuff. So, heard, kind of mission focused, a purpose, right? Laid back. Tell me more about laid back. Who was thinking about laid back?
I mean, we're here to kill mosquitoes at the end of the day. That's our job here, and so they're not going anywhere. It's not really, I mean, it is time sensitive, but there's also time to do things correctly and take your time doing it.
Okay. Helping each other out. Any group disagree with that one? Okay, good stuff. All right. What gets in the way?
Weather.
Okay. So then you can't get the job done. So very mission focused group over here. That's fine. That's good. That's important. Because one of the things that makes a great place to work is kind of knowing what you're there to actually do and having a purpose. That also helps you to interact well with one another. Because sometimes you're like, wait a minute, let's get back to why we're really here. And it is this disagreement we're having, how does that serve anybody? Right? That might be a way to stop that disagreement, or to figure out, where should we really go, right? What's that North Star? So all really good stuff. Other things that get in the way besides weather?
Conflicting personalities can get in the way.
Schedules. Okay. All right. Anything else from group 1 here? Okay. Big group in the back. We'll let you guys go.
So for what it looks like in our roles, there were different ones. For part of us, it was phone etiquette, courtesy with each other and residents, our appearance.
Okay.
And for the guys out in the field, they're asking permission to enter properties, and they're taking a lot of caution to not damage residents' properties.
Okay. So doing those things while not interacting with the public, not damaging the property, showing that you care, being courteous. Good one. Appearance, very important. What were some of the others? Sorry.
Phone etiquette.
Phone etiquette, and we're going to talk about etiquette. And I have it as phone/radio. I don't know if you guys are still using some radios or if you're, full cell phone, but what's the habit with the cell phone put it on speaker for everybody to hear, right? Or at least they're hearing one half of the conversation, right? So you still got to mind. So all important stuff. What makes it a good place to come to work?
Politeness and respect
Okay.
for one another.
All right.
That's what we've got.
Appreciation.
Appreciation.
Okay. Appreciation. What gets in the way?
Life.
Very important. Okay, so let's talk about that professionalism and think about it from that perspective of maybe somebody's struggling on a given day, and maybe it's irritating. But maybe life is happening to them right then and there, and they're showing up because they're dedicated and they don't want to let you down, right? So professionalism sometimes is giving that grace or taking that time to have that conversation in a one-on-one, find out what's going on, right? Especially like, it really doesn't matter if it's somebody that's consistently you usually get along with and everything's fine. But if you see something out of the ordinary, probably a good time to check, right? But life definitely gets in the way, right? We're people, and we bring ourselves to work for good and for bad, right? So you might be carrying something with you at work, and sometimes that causes you to have a hard time. So yeah, life happens. Good stuff there. Other things that might get in the way.
Constituents.
Okay, fair enough. They can get you well.
Honesty, they sometimes get them with.
Sure. Right. Gets back to going on their property, not wanting you around, being afraid of
Most of the time, it's
chemicals.
the neighbor's property where they're complaining about, because you're on the neighbor's property doing something that, I mean, in all honesty, mosquito control, that is a problem we have, is you're over on my neighbor's property over there doing something, why ain't you doing it at my property? Well, the neighbor's going to call in and ask us to come, so.
Right. Okay. So they can get in the way. There's a way to handle that, though, right? And we'll talk about that, how you want to interact and
We
show
can
up.
always be respectful of them. I mean,
There you go.
even as bad as you don't want to, sometimes you have to be respectful of them because they are, at the end of the day, pay them salary.
Okay, good. Group three,
Speak courteous to others,
all right,
dressing appropriately in the uniforms provided,
okay,
and treat residents as if they are correct. Let's make them think that they're correct.
all right,
So behaviors, not showing favoritism, lead by example, and show appreciation for doing your job well.
okay. Cool. That lead by example, a big one here later on, that's a big takeaway for our leaders in the room. Standards are a little higher, right, because people will follow your lead, right? So something that an employee probably shouldn't do, there's definitely the managers and people in authority shouldn't be doing, right? But we'll talk about that, just slightly different standards. Polite, talking to one another, uniforms. What about equipment?
Yeah, keep the equipment clean.
Clean, take care of it, right?
Treat it like it's yours.
Okay,
Ooh.
good one.
Or better.
For some people, it better be better. Some people are rough on stuff, right? They are. I mean, hey, I had a cousin, and I mean, he would just toss a tool out in the yard when he was done with it, and I'm like, you're not gonna pick that up? He's like, I'll get it later, we're busy, we're moved on, and I'd be like, dude, and then it'd be there for 2 weeks later. I mean, you could have just picked his tools up and he would have never known, and you could have just taken them home, and he just didn't care. And he would just go buy stuff sometimes, he'd be like, and then he'd go, oh man, I got this extra hammer. I'm like, yeah, I know you have an extra hammer, because you just toss stuff and lose it. Anyways, don't want to digress, but just, he didn't take care of it. So it isn't yours, so probably for some people it's take care of it like it's your own, or a little bit better, right? What makes the workplace a good place to come for you guys?
Yeah, one thing is being recognized that you are doing a good job.
Recognition, okay,
I learned something years ago, and I'm not in your group, but you can never show too much appreciation to your employee. You can never. I don't care how hard you try, you never show too much appreciation.
Okay? So, when we're talking about professionalism, that really does come into play. Not covering that real overtly today, but in some of the situations we're gonna talk about, showing that appreciation and respect for that individual will go a long way, especially when you're trying to resolve a disagreement, right? And we're gonna talk about probably the best way to resolve disagreements and things like that. But yeah, recognizing and respect for one another is very important for a great place to work. So, things that get in the way.
What do you thought of rain events?
Rain, weather, life, those are the things that get in the way of being able to do this stuff in the system. But you can all still be professional, even if the rain and it's raining, right? Still treat each other well, right? So, okay, cool. Great, you guys did great. You had somebody to speak for your group, you had plenty to share. Why would we do this exercise?
Because for everyone's been.
Everything's out. Give ideas.
Sure. But for you guys to articulate what it means for you guys, right? Because you're defining what's professional, right? I mean, we have some standards, things you just can't do, right? And you got to respect the public. You got to think about who said the taxpayers are paying your salary, right? You got to think about things like that. But a lot of this you're going to define for yourselves, right? And you get kind of what you give. So keep that in mind as well, right? So if you're showing up and you're saying, hey, I want to work in a place that where I want to be, right? I want to treat people in a professional manner and in a way that I want to be treated, that goes a long way, right? And you'll see, how that works, and you probably all will have experiences on things where maybe things weren't going so well. And you think about, well, how could I maybe change some of the things I did, and maybe that other person could change some of the things that they were doing as well. So, just quick activity, and just look for volunteers. Is this, number one, is it professional, unprofessional? Does it depend on the context? And if there's more to your explanation, let me know. So who wants to take number one, personal cell call in a district vehicle?
Depends on the context.
All right, tell me more about depends on the context.
Well, it could be an emergency.
Okay,
I think that would be okay if it's an emergency situation.
okay. Otherwise, is it not okay to take personal calls while you're in the district vehicle?
Is it on your personal phone or on the district phone?
Okay, so there's context again, right? It's okay, let's take it a step further. Personal call on a district phone.
Well, I personally wouldn't be giving my work phone number out.
Kind of avoid that situation, right? All right. Other thoughts on that number one, professional, unprofessional?
It's not
Comes to
interfering
my
with
mind is
work.
safe and unsafe.
It's not interfering with work, like you're going down the road. You've got it through the Bluetooth. What's it interfering with?
Okay. So Bluetooth, probably okay. Safe and unsafe, right? Yeah. When I was a federal employee, we were prohibited from taking work calls while driving a car. Bluetooth, no Bluetooth, period. We were not to do that. So, and I can tell you, I had calls with my boss. Are you pulled over? Yeah. We'll sit there and talk. He was a real by the letters tax guy, right? So no, kind of can depend on policy. So district policy on that one?
It's allowed.
It's allowed?
Yep.
Okay. Any problems optics-wise?
Not if it's hands-free.
Not if it's hands-free? Just might look like you're driving down the road talking to yourself.
Everybody.
So people would put two and two together. Probably, most people would not have an issue with that, right?
So when we get a professional opinion.
Right. Okay,
That's the only way we get a professional opinion, is talking to ourselves.
awesome. All right, who wants to take number 2?
Don't do it. It's unprofessional, it's a bad idea, and you've got the sunshine law to deal with. Everything about that is a horrible idea.
So wearing the earbuds while working with equipment?
Oh, I skipped right.
Oh, yeah, well, let's just go to 3 then, yeah, that's awesome, perfect.
Sorry.
Complaining about a difficult resident in a,
I'll take 2 as well. Never wear both earbuds. It cuts down on what you can hear around you, it cuts down on vehicle noise, it cuts down on pedestrians, it cuts down on coworkers talking to you, constituents talking to you. It makes you unavailable for anybody that walks up to you, and in our business, that's usually a constituent.
okay. Other thoughts about wearing the earbuds while you're working?
What about your bud singular?
There you go, maybe that's okay,
I know,
right?
But I'm participating.
I know.
Yeah, he's fully participating. Okay,
This has come up at our safety meeting for the past 2, maybe 3 meetings. And we still don't have a yes sir. Maybe we'll get one today. I don't know, we're supposed to have one this afternoon.
okay.
But we don't have, I mean, we were wondering about OSHA, does OSHA have requirements? And I don't think you did the research, did OSHA have requirements?
We will-
1 versus 2 versus the bone conducting earbuds.
Yeah, because they don't go in the ears. You can still hear your surroundings.
Yeah, so we brought this topic up, and
But it's from more of a safety perspective.
it is,
And if you're putting others in danger or potentially, I'd say that's probably unprofessional conduct, right? So you might, I'll give you just a step, you might get, okay, it's all right, but then
but I
is it
think,
still,
we're at the point right now where the past few months, it's been, depends on context.
okay,
Where are you, what are you doing? Who's around you? I mean, I think there are a whole bunch of considerations you have to take in whether you're gonna use it or not.
And if you're out in the middle of the woods and you're by yourself, what does it matter?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because, I think, techs are provided, I'm sorry, I didn't speak out.
No, go
I
ahead.
think techs are provided, earmuffs for like running the backpack and stuff.
Okay, so, different, right, go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering, so, I don't know how, like, sounds for you all, because I have hearing loss in this ear, so I just wouldn't do that, because if I have it in this ear, it wouldn't sound the same as if I had it in this ear and if I had it in this ear. I don't
For
know if you
context,
think
we-
that's But like,
You pointed at me.
Oh, no, go ahead, go.
oh, but like,
Yeah.
if something was coming from this direction, could you hear it if you had a earbud in this ear?
Mhm.
Like,
Uh-huh.
can you hear in all directions when you have an earbud in? Or does it sort of like diminish one half? That was a question for anybody that has full hearing. Like-
Not enough that you've noticed. Doesn't affect anything going from side to side, driving, sitting, talking, the whole. For context, are we talking about loading 5-gallon buckets into a piece of equipment? Or are we talking putting an excavator on a little boy?
Heavy equipment.
So, it's a safety aspect. If you've got both of them in, you're looking like you can't hear me when I scream stop. Or is it one of those pieces of equipment where you just use hand signals? At which point, hearing's not an issue.
Okay, so, kind of depends on the context. I mean, I would argue you probably want to have all of your senses when you're doing something potentially dangerous, and that's, again, it's probably a little bit of preference, but think about the other person, right, as well, right? And what can they, how does that impact them? How's that perceived, right? Or are they having to make an extra effort? What if they have to yell to get through the earbuds? And then what impression does that give somebody else, the public, right? So complicated. Sounds like you guys are gonna get an answer, maybe,
Yes.
about yes or no, whether from more of a safety perspective, but even from a professionalism perspective. Think about that. And this is just one example. It could be something else that you're doing, and maybe by the letter you're okay. But how is that perceived by those around you, right? Are you really working as a team, things like that? And there are all kinds of things like that. So, back when I sat in a cubicle and I had to do some pretty detailed work, like analyzing a bunch of numbers, I would put my buds in to filter out the noise of all the people chattering around me. And I got called to the carpet because they thought I was sitting there listening to music. Right? So I ended up having to take them out. Right? But I was doing it to filter out everybody's chatter, and you're all in a cubicle and you have noise, you can't concentrate. But it can depend on the context as well. This one, complaining about a difficult resident in a crude text. You're going to say unprofessional, don't do it.
Everything about it, don't do it.
Yeah. Keep in mind optics.
Especially on company phones, because it's public record.
That's right. You're gonna have these conversations.
Yes.
Don't write it down.
Keep in mind too, do something work related on your personal phone.
And now it's.
And now it's public record.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, you learn that one quick too. Arriving exactly at the start time, not early.
That's a generational thing.
That's professional.
At least you're not late.
You're there.
Professional.
But
As
the
long
other
as you're
being
in
late
your
there.
workplace on time. You don't have to be at your desk early, but you need to be there on time.
Yeah.
And
Any,
cat work and ready to.
I gotta be 10
all the
minutes
time.
early, or I'm, at least 10 minutes early, or I'm late.
I think you're better.
but any other thoughts on that? What's wrong with just being right on time? There's
You have
none.
to be ready to just dive right in. I mean, if you show up right at the nick of time, you have to be prepared right there on the spot to be ready to work. And if you need a minute or two to wrap your head around the day, it's probably best to get there a couple minutes early.
The chances on you being late go up exponentially when you don't build in 5 minutes of flight time or rain time, or what do we call the other people when we're driving in our off time? Oh,
Right. And again, it's kind of that whole respect for others thing, so you're ready, or with a resident as well, right? Appointments. So punctuality is an important part of professionalism, right? But technically, right at the start time is okay.
Time management, some people have a longer commute than others.
Sure.
Like, I got, depending on how traffic is on 98, I live an hour away from here, so I gotta kind of manage my time to get to work.
Right.
And it's getting busy season, kids are out of school, so you gotta,
Yep. And it can change. Yeah.
Usually, when I was gonna try to be at work on time, if I left early like I normally did, if I got there late, it was because somebody had had a calamity in front of me and the traffic got slowed down. I don't care how much early you try to leave, for some of those events, you're still gonna be late. I mean,
don't matter.
I've been as much as an hour late because somebody had a semi turned over on 331 just north of Freeport. And when they rerouted us, you think, well, hey, it's gonna be out, they got us rerouted. Well, they rerouted 50,000 other people, on that two-rut road, makes a big difference, so.
Reroute that stop sign on it instead of light.
Yeah. It's really about respect for others. Anybody want to give an example that we all deal with these people. They're always, when you ask about what's a professional position, and they're the worst about that, about keeping appointments.
yes.
Anybody want to guess what occupation? Don't think it's. Think about going to the doctor. They want you there 15 minutes early, and then you wait for 20 minutes before you go back. and then you wait another 30 minutes, right? And so I'm just saying, picking on doctors, and it's because they're trying to, run a million people through there and all that kind of stuff. But like, you think about it, they're professional, what's a profession? Oh, a doctor, right? They're horrible.
Well, yeah, the way they schedule it to me is unprofessional because
Yeah.
they overbook. It's all
Yeah.
about money.
Yeah.
It's not about health and wellness.
Yeah. And they rarely say anything about the way. So yeah, anyways. Equipment unsecured.
I can't have, we're not allowed to take vehicles home, so.
Nope.
Oh, no, just unsecured, parked on the,
It's unprofessional.
It's parked inside of a building now though, so there's no such thing as.
so it's secured, so
It's
not gonna happen.
parked with the doors just locked.
What if you go to lunch though and your stuff's not secured?
Yeah.
Well, how do
Some of that
you,
stuff.
right now, we're out there with backpacks in the back and they're not
See,
secured.
there you go.
Okay, judgment. What are you concerned? Again, and then, today's age with cameras everywhere, maybe you don't have to be as
You've seen some of that.
diligent, but people can still run off with it. So, you wanna, again, it gets back to treat the equipment better than you treat your own, maybe. Positive comment about working on your own social media, about the field work. You're in uniform on your own social media, but nobody in particular, just, hey, I'm happy to be out here today.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know, I'm asking.
Nothing.
Is it during break time?
There's mandatory, they're gonna get every last minute out of it. Right, so it's fine, right? We're gonna talk about social media and what's permissible and what's not, right? What's a good idea and what's not.
Stay off of it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, you're representing the district, and you guys covered a lot of this, uniform, vehicle conduct, right? You're always out there and you're representing the district. We talked about punctuality, a little bit of difference there, but really you need to be on time, right? Early is probably better. Respectful language is just, like, it's a fundamental. It's not a, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be courteous to you, right? It's just something you have to do at work, right? And you have to do it with citizens. So think of that like, any football fans in here? Come on, everybody's.
College.
College, okay. It's a fundamental, right? It's just like blocking and tackling, right? You're just gonna have to do it to play the game. Respectful language is, it's not something that you're just, oh, I'm gonna be nice because that's an elderly lady and I think I should be kind. It should be respectful for everybody. So, residents, coworkers, and supervisors. All right. I've jumbled some of this. And what you guys are gonna tell me, actually, I'm gonna show you, sorry, mixed up my exercise. I'm gonna show you an unprofessional response to an inquiry. Right? Anybody say that's not unprofessional, arguing with a resident in their driveway?
You should never argue with them.
You know?
Wait till it's posted on their Facebook later, other things.
Okay. So, there you go. Right? And you diffuse it. You say, hey, I can't argue with you, right? I don't know. Or I'm not gonna get into those specifics. We'll get back with you today, right? The other thing there, and we'll talk about that, it gives folks a moment or two to kind of cool off, right? Because maybe this goes away 2 hours from now when they call them back. You know, maybe they had their third cup of coffee and then they're, really ready to deal with humans and they regret giving you a hard time and giving you a hard time in the driveway. So there's one. So here, you don't want to have an awkward pause, right? So you're just going to kind of speculate on the answer, maybe give incorrect information. rather than just go, hey, I gotta get back to you, right? Is that the thing to do? Just give them some kind of answer, or? Now, whoever's answering the phone might not like that answer, but it's probably the best answer.
No, that's what they tell us to do, is give them cherries or camel.
Yeah.
One of them.
Sometimes you gotta bring it up a notch, right? And again, they're having some kind of reaction to you, right, or what you're doing, even though there's probably nothing wrong with what you're doing. Sometimes you're just getting yourself out of that. And you're giving everybody a moment or two to reflect, and then let somebody else talk. Right? One more. So this is just kind of leaving stuff around, right? Probably not good. Probably not good to do at the workplace either. Like for those of you that stay inside, right? You don't want to leave junk around and leave the break room all messy, all that kind of stuff. So,
You probably don't work yet.
there you go. Yeah. Finish it, leave the property, leave it tidy. Right? And that's with anything. Like if somebody comes to do anything at your house, you know, they're probably gonna make a mess. Like somebody's gonna paint the inside of your house, it's gonna get messy. The expectations when you're done, you know, clean that stuff up, right? Unless you said, hey, you don't have to clean up, but charge me, $100 less, and, it'll be on me. Somebody might agree to that, then maybe that's not an issue. The expectations for you guys, right? You're gonna leave the property the way you found it, except with some chemicals on it to kill it. Questions about that? That kind of help bring stuff to life a little bit. Any other comments? This one. Okay, so digital professionalism and social media. So the standard is if somebody else reads it, like your boss, or a reporter, or a citizen, how would you feel about it, right? So what are some things that are probably okay and things to avoid? Now, is that generally okay, or is that kind of avoid? Yeah, complain about resident supervisor district policy. Keep in mind, this is on social media, right? So, doesn't matter if it's the district social media page or yours, probably not okay. So that's not okay. I've jumbled these.
That's usually your first step in being unemployed.
Commenting positive, making positive comments about your community.
That's fine.
On your social media, right? And the work you're doing, right? That's cool. Everybody's good with that. You're not saying I wouldn't spray this yard and revealed anything or anything like that, just general. I'm proud of the work I do. I'm glad that I get the opportunity to do it. Right. Personal post, completely unrelated, just your personal post. Are those okay or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're yours. It's just personal post. That was a tricky one.
What if it's on the district site?
No, that's different, but we're talking on your personal site. It's fine for you to post, it's, you have the right to post on social media, right? You just gotta be careful what you post when it involves the district.
Not what they're working at.
And yes, during working hours, that's probably another good one, you don't wanna be at the back porch, which is in a different county, posting about having a beer at lunch, right? That would probably get you in a little hot water. But unrelated to the district. Sharing, do you guys have district approved messages you can put out? So avoid or okay?
That's okay.
Specifics. You'll notice that, the red and green kind of give you the hint, but, I decided to jump on it, it just helps us to have a better conversation. Unprofessional behavior, I kind of just gave you a hint on that one. District uniform. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
It's okay, not referencing, yeah,
As long as it's accurate.
as long as it's accurate, yeah. Well, yeah, because somebody might attribute it and they know where you work and they're like, what is this guy telling me? Right? Non-public information. Contracts, personnel, operations, yeah. Right. Okay. All right, anybody, have a great social media story they want to share?
So, I've been in this position, 4 or 5 months now? And I had a questionable post, but I went ahead and posted, I did take it down. But I only posted it because when I was in training in January, we talked about it, we got some good laughs, and the general consensus was that I could post it. But it was about our drone, you guys probably remember, it was our big drone, and I wrote, sometimes size does matter. But that obviously, you know, it was obviously,
Right.
But it says it in our lobby about, it says something like that about mosquitoes in our lobby, so. That size doesn't matter. Yeah, so I know that, you know, it would have got laughs, so, but it did get a lot of good analytics that month.
So you got good buzz, but then ultimately it was, it's gotta come down.
Yeah.
Wow.
My 21-year-old daughter said, Mom, you should have posted that. I was like,
Hey, sometimes, you know, there's this whole thing that like, the younger generation's gonna be less uptight about that kind of stuff, and sometimes they're the ones that are like, oh, you can't say that. And you're like, really, I can't?
But then you have our sheriff's department who posts everything that's, and they're okay with that. So it just depends.
Yeah. Well, different departments, different things, different views of things, right? Other social media stories. Thank you for sharing.
Well, there was this one time, got this girl mad at me, and no, I'm joking.
Well, I tell you what, I worked at a corporation before I came here. I was in HR there as well, and it was when Black Lives Matter was going on. And one of my HR reps made a terrible post on her personal Facebook page. It was very ugly, and she wasn't working with us the next week.
Things like that, get you fired.
You do have to be careful. And all that. So, you got an example of how I'm feel this one. Say I wanted to post on LinkedIn about this class and enjoying teaching with the South Walton Mosquito Control District. And I mentioned this campus.
Oh,
Am I good?
Yeah.
I think what your question was.
All right, so and this is where it can get complicated. All right, so Northwest Florida has a social media policy, so I probably need to clear, hey, I'm gonna post something via LinkedIn, right? Probably need to clear it with the district, right? Because there's 2 layers there, 2 parties concerned, right? And once it's out there. So it sounds like no big deal, right? But potentially it could be problematic. For all we know, or I know, the district doesn't want to publicize that you guys are sitting and training right now, right? You might get some blowback from that, right? Some what are they doing in training? Maybe you guys. Right, there you go. So you just have to be mindful of this stuff and be careful. The other thing, depending on the employer, if you're ever looking for a job, some folks, they go and they check for your social media stuff and they look. You know, in my case, I'm a character in my wife's Facebook. You know, I don't really post, I'm just tagged, right? But again, that could be problematic. You know, if they do, they look at all that stuff. Right? A little bit of what we'll call business etiquette here. Talk about written communications. I have phone, radio, meetings, field conduct. So take a look at these 2 emails and tell me which one's the one that you would feel most comfortable with.
Email
Yeah.
me. Less comfortable, you said?
Less comfortable, yeah, which one's problematic or which one's the best? Either way, I'm good.
B is best.
B's best? Okay. Why is B better than A?
Skirts.
It's more professional.
Okay.
It's clerically better, it sounds more professional, it's the tone.
And they don't have to use capital letters.
Yeah.
Again,
Punctuation.
Right. Okay. Both would probably get the message across, right? But,
And it gives a street.
so a bit more specific, right? More useful to the supervisor. And then the big one. If somebody requested it, right? Goes out for the world to see, right? Public records, court case, right? That one, it's business-like, it's not really saying anything negative about the person. This one definitely what gives you the impression, right? That you're maybe a little displeased with that person. So just quick example here. So the elements of the difference is B, good grammar, clear language, right? This one's a big one, I put it in bold. Reread it before you send it, right? So write it, proofread it, and then if you were in any way irritated or had any emotion associated with that email, take 5, come back and reread it, right? And you'll probably go, wow, that was too harsh, right? So just something to keep in mind. This one varies by organization, but generally, you should be able to get back to somebody within 1 business day. Now, if it's complicated, you get back with them with a simple acknowledgement, and I will get back to you in a couple of days. I've got to research that, right? Still getting back to them within the day. And then, recognize urgency when you can, right? And again, 1 business day, somebody's hitting you at 6:30 and your shift ends at 6:30. The clock starts at 6:30 from my perspective. That's reasonable, right? And you're probably going to get back to them that morning, so it's going to be less business day. And again, just acknowledging that email, and then saying, I'll get back to you in a couple of days is generally going to get the job done. So just keep that in mind. People want to be acknowledged. How does it feel when people don't get back to you?
Ed, can you elaborate on this?
What?
I mean, frustrating because you're usually looking for an answer to something.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm dealing with a Dodge dealership, and we have a problem, a very serious problem of safety with a vehicle or two. And it's an ongoing thing. I had a good helper there, and she got promoted, and now I'm having to deal with more than one individual that doesn't seem to think that communication is important in this matter. And then I communicate to my superiors, and that kind of makes me look like a horse's rear end a little bit, because I'm perturbed with their inabilities to provide the proper service.
Gotcha.
So that's going on right now.
What would happen if that person got back to you and said, I'm looking into it, I'll get you an answer as soon as I can, and,
I got that voicemail just a little while ago.
okay.
But
So that's not helping because they've already not responded.
Yeah, because it's been over a week.
But had they been responsive up front, still at this point, it's,
Yeah, they fumbled the football and they have not picked it up at this point.
maybe kicked it backwards another 10 yards.
I think so.
Okay.
And it's got everyone involved here, I mean, everyone that's involved with these
Okay.
safety issues concerned about what's happening. So it's got us all in a little bit of a tizzy.
Okay.
And that's how unprofessionalism, the result of it,
There you go. So yeah, that's a great example, especially when it doesn't really involve, it does involve you guys, it's relevant, but it involves somebody else, so that's gold, right? But no, I mean, and the safety issue, right? Non-responsive, right? So it gets back to, how do you want to be treated, right? And everybody's a little bit different. Like, I'm gonna mention my wife twice in this session. Let's say that we're having whatever's going on with whatever. My patience with somebody getting back on an inquiry, I'm a lot more patient. Like, hey, can you check on this issue with my call? I'll do it at 8 in the morning, 11 o'clock. She's heard back from me yet? No. Don't expect to hear back from them probably till this afternoon or tomorrow.
You know what?
But again, no, and it's not a man and male female thing, it's just a patience thing, right? Some people were just kind of, yeah, okay, and then others aren't. Like my sister, hey, it's like, next week, right? I mean, it is, people are different. So there are differences there, but when you're in that work environment, you really want to think about getting back to folks, right? And it's hard for somebody to be upset if you just take the time to get back to them, even if it is, I don't know the answer, right? But I'm working to get it to you. Just keep that in mind. Work emails. Focus on work. Easy with the complaints, and keep the personal stuff somewhere else. It's really, and I notice I put text, right? So, keep it focused on work and away from that other stuff. Accurate, respectful, and again, somebody else was looking at it, and maybe they're looking to make you look bad, or you're gonna feel comfortable with that being out there.
Question. I've been in this situation a long time before where I sent a text that would not normally go to a supervisor, and was pretty embarrassed with it. What are you supposed to do in a situation like that, other than just explain I hit the wrong person?
I would immediately explain it. That's what I would do. Apologize, right? I didn't mean to send that to you.
That's what I do.
And I'm gonna mention that later too, when we talk about some of the other examples. If you have a group text and it's like a work group text or whatever, don't put your supervisor on that. Just you're doing them a favor, because you're just putting them in a basket, right? So, because you guys might have some friendly, nothing wrong with them kind of group text, but probably the supervisor's. And really, you should keep it all about business. Right? And we'll talk about not talking about people via group text, and excluding them and things like that. Give you all a great example. I have 2 nieces and 2 nephews. The youngest niece, even when she had a phone, the 3 older ones, because she was a handful, she was little, they had a group text about they used to communicate, and they purposely excluded her so that they could actually talk about her, because that was the one place they could get away with it, because neither one of their mothers would allow that. This went on for years. And eventually she found out about it and all that, and it's kind of hurtful, right? But she really was the youngest kid, right? They can be a handful. So that's what they do. Don't do that at work. So that's like a bad example of that. Not quick, we got plenty of time. Discussion, and we'll do this as a group. Looking for examples of worst phone or radio communication you've heard in the field or major stuff.
Somebody having just crash out, cuss words, name being named, just, they freaked out.
Okay.
And it was out of character, but all of us heard it.
Okay.
It didn't happen here.
We don't use the radio,
Yeah.
but
Phone
I've heard them freak out.
on speaker, phone overheard, something like that. Anybody? It's another one.
Give the wrong information to a constituent, just blatantly the wrong information.
Okay? So wrong information, kind of having a meltdown,
Oh, yeah.
cursing, losing your cool. Other examples.
Since I've been here, everything's seemed pretty professional. As far as
All right, so we'll bring it outside the district. Other places where you've heard somebody.
Oh, boy, I worked in a car dealership for 30 years, man. It's every single day, all day,
Okay.
all
Well,
day.
give us one. Give us one good example.
Oh,
He's like, I have to.
well, there's always some customers that have problems that we couldn't solve or whatever, and there would be a lot of talk about how difficult they might or may not have been, and amongst many people. So, that's not that professional, but that's a daily thing, you know? Just one small example.
Okay. Examples of people saying things on the phone that I overheard that shouldn't have been.
I used to sell food to restaurants. And this didn't happen to me, but one of the salesmen, I mean, it was crunch time, we gotta get orders in by 5 PM or they don't get it. It was like 10 till, and one of his customers called him and said, I need to get an order. He says, dude, I'll call you right back. Said, I'm taking another order. He thought he hung up, but he didn't. And he just started dog cussing this guy. And then all of a sudden you hear, hello, hello. Dude, I'll call you right back. He had to apologize, but he said, man, you put me under pressure, you know, but, so if you're gonna do it, make sure you hang up.
So I used to work in the car dealership field too for 5, 6 years, and service manager at the time, mine is, Mosquito is very backwoods, Illinois. He having a rough day or something, which again, no excuse, but literally over the radio, he called for, get this customer's car, bring it up, and said, one of you go get this animal lady, her car up here now. Yeah, so, yeah, he lasted about 2 days.
Yeah, I mean, so it can be rough, you know, you could lose your job, kind of stuff. Again, common theme here sometimes might, one, think about who could hear it, but two, sometimes take a moment, right? If you're in that situation before you speak out loud and think about what you're gonna say first, right? You know, maybe cool off.
I mean, never know who's listening.
Right. And I mean, everybody's in the habit of putting it on speakerphone, right? So you've taken a call, maybe you're just out, you're on your break, and you've got the window down and you're talking on the phone. You know, sitting somewhere.
We go back to the time when that was disrespectful. Nobody cares what you're talking about.
No.
We don't.
Well, it is, some people still consider it kind of disrespectful, but you're right, that standard of putting it on speakerphone for the whole world to hear, some people just do it.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, you know, and they don't care. Or like, I don't know, when's the last time anybody's flown in a while? Right? Be at the airport and you're sitting there waiting on your plane and somebody's having like a full Zoom meeting. They've got the buds in and they're having a full conversation. You're sitting there going, dude, I'm trying to just relax before I get on my flight. And I've got to sit here and listen to your Zoom. Right? They do it. Probably really not a good idea, because what if somebody's hearing stuff they're not supposed to, right? I mean, he must have felt very comfortable, but it was all I could do not to shut that down.
You don't care, nobody cares, just.
That's true. But on the flip side, they don't care until you say something
Oh, that's the problem.
that you shouldn't, and then all of a sudden, they care, right? So, yeah. But yeah, those standards are definitely changing on the speakerphone. So, kind of this whole thing, answer professionally, right? You guys probably have a script, something like that. You're supposed to tell them what your name is and where they call it. Make sure that you're recognizing, yeah, you got the right person, right organization, and here's my name. Usually, how can I help you? Again, just treat it like it is public, right? The other thing to consider, voicemails, right? And you might think, oh, well, they'll just delete it. But now, voicemails are usually transcribed to text or, so then, they've got it in writing, what they said, right? So just remember, keep them public. And this one, just very common, it doesn't matter. Car dealership, government services, that one generally gonna get some complaints, right? So because you worked at a car dealership and you had experience, you get the privilege of working with them now. That's kind of how that works.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I let them know that too. I let them know about my background and everything, and you would think that would warrant, hey, this guy just laid it on us. He knows what we do here. Basically, he's lived what we're living. Let's show him a little bit better than what he's expecting. But no, just.
This is what you're getting, go back to Panama City?
Good.
It's the only game in town.
It's every dealership, it's not, it's that Porsche dealership would be just like this. I promise you.
The manager of that Ford dealership is my friend, well, go ahead.
Sometimes you have to take it up to corporate, sometimes people get.
It does sometimes, and it gets swept under the rug if it's inappropriate enough to where they're gonna get the fallout on it, They want to keep that kind of thing quiet, of course.
Yeah, they don't want that scrutiny, but yeah. Well, good luck. Hopefully you'll get it rid of it.
Oh, yeah, thanks for the luck, because I'm gonna sure need it. I think all of us need this situation.
All right. So, talk a little bit about how to handle conflict. And I want you guys to pair up, or you guys can do it in your formal group, that's fine. But think about a workplace disagreement. And it didn't have to occur at the district. In fact, if you can share with your group members a disagreement at another place, even better. Right? That's a safer discussion to have. And then we're going to talk about it. So take 5 minutes to kind of think about it and share that scenario and kind of walk through what happened.
We keep a pair of boxing gloves in the.
So, which group wants to share their disagreement first? That is fine. Yeah, we can definitely hear about
It
it.
doesn't have to be in our environment, right?
Right, yeah, it can just be our work environment. In some ways, that's actually better. It doesn't get personal. All right. So group one is going to share their conflict situation.
All right, this is a workplace disagreement that actually happened to me in the dealership again. That's what I told you about these places. And so I had a coworker for many, many years. We became very, very close friends. Then I met my wife, and she was from Georgia. She convinced me to leave this dealership, go to Georgia. I didn't like it there. 3 years later, I talked to this man. He invited me to come back. So I convinced her to move back to the Carolinas. We're in the dealership. And for a while, we were just like peas and carrots again. We had a bad employee that was stealing from the customers, stealing from us, and stealing from the dealership. I made this, my friend then was promoted to the general manager, sorry. I was telling him that this is what's going on, never did anything about it. A decade later, I've had enough, okay? I've just had enough.
Oh, wow.
I've fallen out. Okay, so here was the result of having a workplace disagreement. I lost a friend. I quit a job that I went back to, and I was going to retire from that. And I ended up, and I left a career path as well. So those three are very monumental things that happen from a simple disagreement about someone that was not being ethical in the workplace.
Okay. So, what made it escalate for you?
What made it, his inability to rectify the situation.
Okay.
After 10 years, I mean, and it was everyone, it was
And everybody knew it?
Everybody knew it.
Okay.
I mean, he was taking money under the table from this guy so he could steal his. So, yes, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So, anything gonna help that situation?
Yeah, I actually, I got the corporation involved in it, and had they, performed a proper investigation, which they did perform an investigation, but they didn't want this to become public knowledge. And I didn't understand all of that before I made this complaint, or I probably would have never made the complaint. But they didn't want it to become public knowledge, so basically, I was kind of squeezed out. I wasn't fired, but I was, made to the point where I got to go see you guys.
Okay.
So,
Anything, communication could have been better that might have helped that situation?
I think that everybody that was involved with the situation was understood what was going on.
Okay.
It was just, they didn't want to change things.
Okay. And in this case, they were unprofessional because they were basically all involved with some kind of theft or embezzlement or something along those lines.
There was 3 that were definitely, and we called it Easy E Motors. Edison Zander Motors. Oh, and if you want to do something underhanded, you just approach him and say, hey, I'll give you $100 if you let me come over here and do this and make me some time. And you take it.
So you just had a lot of unethical conduct.
Absolutely. It was just not good.
Okay.
But the corporation was the cap of it all. They just did not do the right thing.
So they didn't address it, they didn't care, they didn't come in and,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Next, Sharon, thank you.
I can do it. A 6 out of 15 people in this room that was affected by this.
Okay.
Rich.
Oh,
What made it escalate? Rich. What would have happened if it had happened earlier? Termination. What role did communication play? When everybody finally got together and told the truth about what the man was doing, the 6 people still here, Rich is no longer here. Would you not agree with that, Jerry?
I would say that's a pretty fair assumption.
So,
I mean, that's, and I'll show you the 6 people, Jerry, Norm, Kenny, Turner, Eddie, and Kevin. It didn't matter how high up the food chain you was, he didn't mind stepping on you.
okay.
He was even trying to be the director. That's just
So
how
what made it escalate? Something that he was
He
doing?
had a head on him about this big around, and nobody didn't know nothing that he didn't know. Oh, he knew everything.
Yeah.
But when you got to, did you know about it, Mary?
Yep.
That's 7 out of 15. But anyway, he made everything sound like he could fix it. And all he done is made it worse. I mean, it festered to the point that it was bad. I mean, this organization was having one bad time after another, because today it may be Jerry, tomorrow it's Norman, or next week maybe Norman. He may give you a whole week of it, but he was after everybody. I was in Birmingham being operated on, he was trying to run me off. Like that son of a gun. So, and he did run Eddie off. I'm just thankful Eddie come back.
Me too.
But ultimately, his behavior was communicated and ultimately dealt with.
Sir.
Ultimately, his behavior was dealt with. Communication, somebody eventually,
It took everybody getting together and talking to the director about, hey, this is what he's done. This is what he's done behind your back, what he's done behind everybody's back. So what I'm trying to say is you can't let one bad person ruin an organization. Everybody needs to stand, if you feel like you're being done wrong, at least talk to your supervisor. And if you think he's part of it, talk to another supervisor. Come see Barbara if you have a problem.
sometimes,
Somebody needs to
And we'll talk about some of those things at one of the.
If he was here right now in this class,
I would be.
he would sit there and think, he could do this class better than you could.
I'm sure you did. All right, last one, last
All right.
one.
So
Thank you.
long before I was a model employee here at Mosquito Control, I worked at Lockheed Martin. I was a jet engine mechanic, and me and this other lady, we were working together. We had changed like hundreds of engines together, me and this lady, and we were changing an engine one night, and we were giving a crane operator like hand signals how to do it. We're having trouble getting this engine hooked up, and when you're doing a big task like that, you had to have a supervisor on site, making sure you're safe and doing what you're supposed to. And the supervisor was down on the ground, also trying to give hand signals and tell the crane operator what to do. And I'm giving signals to the crane operator, and it finally escalated the point and turned into a yelling match. And I left for the day and came back and apologized the next day, and everything was fine, but it definitely got pretty heated there for a few minutes.
Okay. So it escalated because you had two people trying to give the direction and trying to get the work done, and it wasn't working well.
Right.
So obviously communication played some role, but you were trying to communicate with the crane operator, and so was the supervisor, and it wasn't working well. What would have helped if something happened? Something you would have done something differently, or the supervisor or somebody would have done something differently earlier?
Either one of us could have done something differently. He could have trusted that we knew what we were doing and just kept his hands in his pockets or something.
Okay.
Or I could have offered him if he wanted to do it, then he could, which I did, but in a very colorful way.
I'm a professional.
So, the other thing here, you mentioned, you did come back and apologize.
I did. Yeah. I had to pay bills, so.
And did that help?
Oh, yeah, it was water under the bridge, yeah.
Okay, cool. So, good lessons there, right? So you had communication, in this case, hand signals. It got so
Other than the middle finger, right?
it got to be such a problem that you just said, hey, I'm done, I'm removing myself from this, right? With a few colorful adjectives on why you were leaving probably. But then the apology came back and brought it all back together. Okay.
Could I add something?
Sure.
Had he not left, I mean, look at the situation, but had he not left for the day, he might not have been able to go back to work the next day. It may have ended badly. So sometimes, just taking the afternoon off it can be your best answer to it. I mean, just, you get throw your hands up and quit, you just, hey, I gotta have a break. I mean, sometimes the afternoon helps.
It sounded like it was kind of a safety
That
issue.
operator
Well,
should
it's
have not
not-
let it get to that point. You don't listen to two sets of signals. You make them figure out which one of them's talking and shut the other one up. Put mittens on it if you have to.
All right, awesome. Thanks for sharing. Other thoughts about these situations, common threads, insights? Okay.
For me, if something's bothering you, you need to say something before it escalates,
Ideally.
if you can.
And it can be frustrating when you do, and then nothing is done, right? Those can be tricky situations as well. And then, depending, sometimes finally when something does get done, there'll be people go, why are you picking on that person? They didn't do that work that way forever. They've been here forever, So that can happen as well. So. But really, it's about stopping it early, trying to address it early. It doesn't always work that way. And in some cases where you have a really bad actor, somebody that's really unprofessional and unethical, you'll have to escalate it, right? And that can take time. But generally, for most disagreements, things like that, take it head on, generally one-on-one, not in front of a group, you can address it, resolve it, hopefully get back to, hey, we're good working here, right? Couple things. and you've heard me say this a couple of times, pause before you react, right? And for me, this means watch my facial expressions, because sometimes people will be like, oh, we know you're not happy right now. Right? And I have said nothing, but they're like, yeah, like, I mean, I had somebody tell me, sometimes when the boss is talking to you and you don't like what they're saying, turn your webcam off, because everybody can tell you don't like it, even though you said nothing, right? But anyway, so anyways, pause before reacting. Just think about it, right? What's going on? Address it with the person directly. What's the other word there?
Privately.
Privately, right? Nobody likes to get called out in a group, right? For the most part. Respectfully, right? Try not to make it about them. Try to focus on what they did or what they said. And don't say, you're a real jerk because you always do this. Say, I'm upset with you because you did X, Y, and Z, right? Focus on that behavior rather than trying to make it like the person's bad all the time, right? Now, there are individuals that may indeed be true, but you gotta focus on the behavior. If you start early, you should be okay. Give them an opportunity to respond and really listen, right? So, how many of you have ever been in an argument with your significant other where you said something, you already had round 2 loaded up and ready to go. You let them talk for a minute, then you unleash round 2 and you just ignored what they said. Anybody done that?
A long time ago.
Yeah. How's that go?
Not good.
Right? In any argument, right? You're supposed to be argument where you're trying to work things out. It's not really an argument, but seriously, take that time to listen to what they just told you. And maybe what you'll hear is, wow, no, that's really not what I wanted to hear, and I need to get some clarification, and we need to keep talking it through. But try to listen. And then try to come with some kind of agreement on a path forward, right? And then this one, and in this case, 2 of our examples that came up where it had to be escalated multiple times, right? And in your case, the escalation was, I'm going to withdraw and leave, right? That was like a real big pause before reacting, right? I'm not going to do anything else. I'm feeling unsafe. I'm not like this. I'm just going to pause and move back. In both of your cases, you had to escalate this, right? You had to keep bringing it up, and multiple people had to raise it. And I have this big one right here. Are there situations where you might skip resolutions and reports to thing immediately? And I think we had 2 really good examples there, for sure. Right? Where you try to do this. This is the professional thing, and oftentimes this will work. But there are situations, unsafe behavior, where it's harassment, something illegal. In your case, you were coming up with that. Then you're not really going to necessarily go through these things. You're just going to move straight to like, I've got to report this, right? So, questions about this framework. Just keep this in mind. Again, the pause is a big one. Generally, it's uncomfortable and very natural when you have to assert yourself to have some emotion associated with it, right? So if you don't pause and you just immediately assert yourself, you probably might say something that could make it worse, or say something that's going to hurt that other person, right? Hurt their feelings, or say something unprofessional. Taking that pause, big one. And again, the person and their behavior directly private. Listen, try to get that agreement, right? And then, escalate. Questions about this? Anybody want to give an example of maybe how these things have helped them? Or an example of when you didn't do one of these things and it didn't go so well?
I indicate cheat. If you're ever in a situation that is becoming emotional, do math. Simple math. 2 + 2 is 4, 6 + 6 is 12. It uses a different part of your brain and helps shut off
It's a great example.
what you're feeling for the person on the other side of the table.
When you're feeling anxious or tense, a way to get that brain, that different part of your brain working, right?
And just simple math.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can do square roots if you want, but
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, there's an analogy about the brain, what you're talking about. But I was talking about feeling emotions associated with asserting yourself. That's back part of the brain, they call it the crocodile brain. It's been around forever. And math, front part of your brain, it's generally like us, smart mammals, right? So, yeah, you engage a different part of your brain, right? And that's taking that time, right? So.
Well, it's really important to listen to understand. I think understand is the key word. Listen to react, because a lot of people are listening to try and find something else to, beat somebody up about, rather than to understand their perspective and where they're coming from and maybe what's going on in life right now.
Like when I said, where you said something and then you let them respond, but you already had your ammo for round two, you knew what they were going to say, you're just ready. Yeah, and that you're not listening to understand their perspective. Yeah. All good things. This should be helpful. You guys get along, seem to be pretty collegial and laid back, I heard today. So a lot of this is probably occurring, right? And there's probably a good bit of this pause before reactive, and you're like, heck, at the end of the day, it just didn't matter, right? And sometimes that happens too. That's the other good reason to do that. You might think it matters in the moment, but after lunch, you're like, yeah, it's just not good. And maybe that's the best course of action. Sometimes not.
Sometimes, like, not good at bottling in emotions, and sometimes you just talk to that person, sometimes they just need to let it all out before they do something they're gonna regret later.
Yeah. All right. Got 4 scenarios. So we really need 4 groups, or we can just go with your 3, and we'll just go with 3 scenarios. What we're gonna do, we'll go through this. I want you guys to discuss those questions. And then pick a right or wrong answer. And in 7 minutes, we'll talk about it. Who has scenario number 1?
Who does what?
Scenario number 1. We got it. All right. What's the issue?
Professionalism.
Okay. Yeah, I've already put the answer on that.
That's kind of obvious.
Yeah, is that what you guys had?
Not create a public trust for one, too.
What should happen next?
What should happen next?
A warning.
Maybe,
Take the post down,
take the post down.
some action.
Get those, some kind
Not
of,
necessarily termination, but definitely.
something,
A correction.
correction. So not necessarily, oh, this is unforgivable, but it can't happen again,
Right.
gotta be corrected.
I don't think it'd do any good for him to go in and apologize on Facebook for doing it, because nobody's gonna see that part.
Joey's gonna get road rage paid by
Yeah.
All right. So, but the issue was really in the uniform about somebody, okay? Scenario 2.
right here.
We got scenario 2. Do I need to read it out? What's going on?
Oh, no, what was the issue?
So we all agreed that the technician should have de-escalated from the start, acknowledging the concern, answered calmly, and offered the office number, and ended the interaction professionally.
Okay. So. Yeah.
All right.
And the group chat.
Oh, we got that.
So what's the issue here?
Well, it's unprofessionalism, it's harassment. What else? Got a supervisor participating.
So answer,
Definitely C, it creates a hostile work environment.
yeah. Yeah. And then the supervisor part, right? When I said, hey, if you're gonna do one thing, don't add your supervisor to these kind of chats and be doing them a favor. Because they can't just be neutral. They can't, you guys might, nobody ever found out. Maybe nothing happens, but you really shouldn't, right? And even you should probably put a stop to it and report it. But the supervisor, no choice.
He should have redirected as soon as it got off of
Yeah,
scheduling and
right. Okay. So, we got one more. Anybody wanna just take a guess on an answer in 4 minutes on which one's right?
B.
Yeah, I mean, it's that whole private thing, you know. And, I mean, you know, we can all be guilty of this. I mean, I know I've probably given my former supervisors a hard time in front of others and thinking, oh, they're the supervisor, they can take it. But really, a lot of stuff, you should pull it off, yeah, right? That's a better way, have a better relationship that way. Okay, awesome. Great job. So you guys are getting this stuff. All right, we got 5 minutes. So we're not gonna do it in small groups, we'll just do it together. You can kind of see the answer, but. Arguing with a resident in the front yard, somebody reports it. Live, public trust, yeah.
regardless of whether or not they're recorded, the incident shouldn't have happened.
The recording just makes it.
Insensible.
Yeah, everybody to see. All right. Motion for anything to consider. With the,
B.
yeah.
B.
Nice. Complaining in uniform. See? Yeah. Okay.
See,
Can't answer the question. I didn't do my answer. So if you can't answer, best thing, be honest. Send them to somebody else if they can.
B.
B.
Yeah, significant liability. Yeah. Again, it's tough to be a supervisor, guys. Like, often a thankless job.
No.
Just keep that in mind. Disagrees with the schedule?
B.
Privately, yeah. Kind of repeat it. First step.
C.
Now, okay, let's think about that. That's not always the worst thing to do. Let's say that you think that maybe you need another perspective before you confront the individual. Maybe it gets back to that thinking before you act, and maybe that thinking is, hey, what do you think I should do? And maybe that colleague, trusted colleague, said the right way, privately. That's not a horrible answer. And sometimes you do need to ask somebody else before you decide, right? Or if you're not sure exactly how to talk about it, not horrible to get a second perspective. Depending. Generally careful with that because you want, it's gotta be somebody that is not then gonna say, oh, so-and-so was talking about you, right? It's gotta be somebody you can have that confidential conversation with. It's good to have those relationships.
We'll say in management, we do discuss things sometimes. We talk with each other among each
Yes.
other to figure out,
Yeah.
hey, this kind of situation came up. How should we handle it from here?
Yeah, anytime we got a new manager on our team, I always say, congratulations and I'm sorry. And welcome to the club, and supervisors do, there's like this whole, you talk about it and you understand it doesn't go anywhere, and sometimes you need that extra perspective. And it's really to keep you from doing something colossally stupid to your employee, right? Or you go to HR and you say, hey, I really need to run this by you. A little bit different for that supervisor. But again, not always a horrible thing for you guys to do either. Skip. So that's kind of tying all that together. So that is it for today. Any additional questions, comments? You need to
Here next week?
Yes. I'm here next week, and then it'll shift to some of my colleagues who have expertise in those next two topics. So that's it. Thank you all. Here's your key takeaways. This